Welcome to Acquisitions Anonymous, Internet's #1 podcast about buying, selling, and investing in small businesses. Today's deal that we broke down was a training school located here in Texas. And Bill and I had a great time digging in, and Bill was delightful as always. And I was me. So, all right, here's the episode. I hope you enjoy it.
Episode Acquisitions Anonymous. Hello, another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.
We don't have 100% beard anymore.
I'm thumbs downing on just the plus inventory line.
Are you ready to take the leap into business ownership, but you don't know where to start? Well, look no further than Acquisition Lab, the premier resource for entrepreneurs seeking to buy their dream business. Founded by Harvard MBA and acquisition expert Walker Deibel, the lab is your fast track to success in the search, diligence, and acquisition process. With hands-on support, world-class resources, and a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, Acquisition Lab gives you the tools and confidence to navigate every step of the journey. And we're proud to call Walker and Chelsea, the lab's director, longtime friends of the podcast. They're passionate about helping entrepreneurs like you take the next big step. So don't wait to make your business ownership dream a reality. Visit acquisitionlab.com today to learn more and schedule your free consultation. And when you do, be sure to tell them the Acquisitions Anonymous podcast sent you.
All right. Morning, Michael.
Good morning to you. I'm glad we're recording on a Friday because it seems to be your happiest day of the week. I was watching our episode that went out today. You're like, happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Fridays are great. Even when you're self-employed, Fridays are great.
Yes. When I figure that out, I'll let you know. So how many more episodes are you going to record from this house before
From
you
this
move to your
house? I don't know. We probably got another month here.
Okay.
Got another month here. And then we'll be in the new, I think I have a dedicated content studio in the new house. There's like a basement room that is like has no windows and stuff. It's like, I think it's like technically like part of the foundation, but they said you could turn this into a safe room if you want. I'm going to turn it into a podcast studio because it has no windows, like thick walls. So it's going to be great acoustically. You can totally control the light. So we should have a good podcast studio in the basement in the new house.
Because I mean, this is a substantial house, so you got to be figuring out what to do with some of these rooms. So, are you gonna have something cool like a Monopoly room or something like that?
Monopoly room, yeah. No, it's just I would have a room where I lock the kids in and I don't hear them. That's what I want.
I'm in the room where we optimize to make sure that we have a good guest bedroom for the 3 nights a year that somebody stays at our house. So, I'm just happy I get to work out here.
Earlier in the year, you had like the dedicated podcast room with like the teleprompter situation and all the lights with like the desk right in the middle of the room. And I haven't seen you in there in a while.
Yeah, that's at my office. So I'm at home today. I just haven't been going to the office much. So my wife asked me, why don't you go to your office much? I was like, I don't know. The house is pretty great. There's a kitchen here and there's food and drinks.
I find it's like cycles. Like I get into cycles where I'm going to the office like 4 days a week. And I love it. But then if I let it slip, like over the summer, you travel and stuff, and then you're not in the office routine, it's so easy to go, I'll just stay home today. And I got to get back in the office routine. I'm happier when I'm in the office routine.
Right. Well, the 30 minutes of like getting set up at the new place, getting your lunch packed and all that kind of stuff, it counts, right? It adds up every day. So, speaking of travel, I heard you have a deal.
I have a cool deal today. So this is from our friends at Quaile Brokerage. And when they sent this to me, I said, we got to do this on the pod. So I saved this for you, Michael. This is a RV technician training and certification school. It says it is industry dominant, campus based, and has major barriers to entry. It has $9.5 million of revenue and $2.85 million of net income. And they're asking $15.6 million. So it's a 5.5x multiple.
Okay.
So strong multiple, but also strong business. It says this RV training academy represents a rare opportunity to acquire the dominant market leader in a recession-proof, high-demand niche with explosive growth potential, substantial regulatory barriers to entry, and multiple expansion pathways already underway. Established 2017, so 8 years ago, this company operates as the largest RV technical training provider in North America, serving an industry experiencing acute technician and inspector shortages driven by record RV sales over the past decade. The business benefits from significant barriers to entry, including state workforce commission licensing with mandatory annual audits, VA program approval for veteran benefits, operational real estate, and specialized infrastructure and equipment requirements that competitors cannot easily replicate. No other training facility provides premium classroom and hands-on training, leading to industry certification. The vertically integrated ecosystem generates $9.6 million in revenue across multiple streams. There's the core training programs, which are 74% of revenue. Their campus training programs, which is 12% of revenue. The online courses, which is 10% of revenue. And then professional associations, which is 4% of revenue. With their COO and seasoned department directors managing daily operations, the business delivers $2.8 million in SDE while requiring minimal owner involvement from the 71-year-old founders. Multiple growth catalysts position the business for expansion. Satellite schools planned for Florida and Arizona, a Fort Hood military program leveraging VA approval, a rapidly scaling online platform, a new custom app, which they call Uber for RV technicians, an integration averaging over 100 daily service requests, expanding manufacturer partnerships, and 70 acres available for rally and service center development beyond the current 50 million revenue target. The purchase price does not include the income generating $6 million prime real estate available to be purchased, which is part and parcel to the operation. All right. So you does not include the $6 million real estate, which is part and parcel to the operation. Can't run it without the real estate. But it's not included. The founders are ready to retire and transition this turnkey operation to new ownership who can build on the foundation. And this is by Chris Wozniak over at Quiet Light.
All right, that's a good photo of Chris, by the way.
Yeah, very suave, very dapper.
Yeah, good for Chris.
So
okay, so this is a career school. Basically is what this is.
Yeah. For RV technicians and inspectors.
Got it. So it's here in Texas, right?
I don't think it says that. I did not see any indication. It says they are looking at expanding to Florida and Arizona. So I would assume it's not in those places.
The reason I ask is they use the name for the Workforce Commission. That is the name of the Texas entity. Capital Workforce Commission. That is the state entity in Texas that supervises these types of schools.
Okay, interesting. So maybe it is in Texas. Takes a Texan to recognize that.
Well, I was in the career school business for a while, so I learned some stuff about it. It's hard.
That's why I wanted your take on this one.
Man, so I guess my first question is, what do we think about this real estate situation?
I mean, this is obviously BS, right? Like you can't sell how all this listing says that it has this unique real estate. Part of the revenue is coming from on-campus programs. The barrier to entry is the real estate and like the training park where I assume they teach you to like drive RVs and like move them around and do all that stuff. And then say at the very end, purchase price does not include $6 million of prime real estate available to be purchased, which they then straight up admit, which hands off to Chris Wozniak for being straight up about this, which is part and parcel to the operation, right. Meaning you absolutely need it. So like, I get the sense this is semi-custom real estate. Like you wouldn't want to buy this and then move. So at the very least, you've got a negative EBITDA add back for market rent on this place and a new lease. Or they've got to somehow sell you the real estate also. But like either way, it's not fair to look at the financials of this business without either assuming you are leasing the real estate or you are owning the real estate and the cost of capital to do that, because there is no business without the real estate, which they admit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this will come up when we determine if the price is fair. But okay, so just so we're on the same page, the customer for this business are people that aspire to be professional RV technicians. They come and apply to the school. The school delivers them training, certifies them, and then graduates them to go be RV techs. That's right. The name of the game?
That's right. I think it's get into the RV tech career school.
Interesting. Do they tell us how many students they have? Because they're doing $9.6 million in revenue at $20,000 per, or let's say $30,000 per. That means they're at about 300 students a year.
That'd be 500 students a year if it's 20 grand per, roughly.
Yeah.
Do you think it's 20 grand per? That seems expensive.
Have you seen how much it costs to become a licensed beautician?
No, I don't want to know.
It's part of the student debt problem, right? Is The like you want to go get a trade degree and to go to beauty school, people rack up like 30 or 40,000 in debt to go to beauty school for 18 months.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would think the earning power of an RV tech is probably significantly better than a beautician.
I believe so, but these are not, these are still $50 an hour jobs.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. That's $100,000 a year, right?
Still very good.
Still pretty good.
Still does very good.
I would think the world needs more RV techs, and people are earning $50 to $80 an hour fixing stuff. So that's awesome. But okay, but yeah, probably let's call it 500 students a year.
Yeah. So speaking of which, young Girdley, who's 19 years old, wanted to buy a truck because he's getting very handy with his hands and has bought a 138,000 mile used fleet vehicle. And yesterday I went out to the garage and he was changing the spark plugs and the coils in this Ford F-150. I was like,
awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, yes. Probably needs it. 138,000 miles of fleet use. He's going to learn a mechanic.
Well, we gave him a budget and said, hey, you could spend $15,000. So the first thing he came back with was like a bunch of 2006 Ford Rangers because he really wanted a manual transmission truck. We finally got him over that. But based on his budget, this is what he could afford. And it's been adorable watching the whole process. He ran the whole purchase process at 19 years old, got the truck inspected, all this kind of stuff, made a deal on it. But it was clearly used in the oil field somewhere because they had this whole like electrician like cabin on the back where you could store all these parts. And he didn't realize when he bought it, it had an aftermarket alarm. So the first day it spent the entire afternoon in the alarm in our street going off. It was great.
Nice. Well, if he ever wants to get into bigger iron and work on RVs, he can go to this.
This is the chance.
Yeah.
The other reason I thought it was in Texas is they talk about Fort Hood, which is up there between Dallas and Austin.
Okay.
Yep. So the challenge with all this stuff is how does financing work for the students, right? And one thing to notice with this is it says they have a VA program approval for veterans benefits. So there's this whole industry of folks who have built schools around VA programs. And so there's GI Bill, which pays to go to college and accredited things. And then there's a bunch of other programs as well. And so I'm curious how people are getting financed and able to afford going to this school. So let's say if it's $20,000 for a 6-month RV tech program, like how are they paying for it?
Yeah, well, it does say specifically they have VA program approval. So that's part of it. I mean, it sounds like, especially if they want to expand up by Fort Hood, it seems like they probably already have a pretty robust pipeline of people coming out of the military wanting to get RV certified and using their VA benefits. I would wonder how much of revenue that pipeline is that is VA paid. Is that good revenue, Michael, or is that bad revenue?
It's risky revenue. It's basically what Heather talks about with supplier risk or I forget how she describes it directly, but it's like there's times when it looks like you actually have a diverse customer base, but there's really only one payer. It's kind of like if you're, I guess a good example is if you're like a medical device, like local medical device supplier. It's like, oh, like I have all of these doctors as referral subjects. Well, actually, no, there's only 3 insurance companies that are sending you business and they're all trying to screw you over. And they all base their prices based on Medicare. So you're actually, you have a very limited customer base and a strong amount of customer concentration. So the VA stuff is something to actually be very worried about because it creates a single point of failure for the whole thing. If the VA screws up and like changes your contract, not that this happened to me, but it can kill your business, right? Like it could totally do that. If one bureaucrat decides to do something stupid, it can kill the whole thing. And so that's why if it's 80% VA, I would be very scared. Very scared.
How does this VA program work? I mean, I'm imagining that there's VA benefits for continuing education and that you just kind of choose your continuing education and you submit for reimbursement. I wouldn't imagine that the VA has a contract specifically with this RV school, right?
So what the VA will do is the VA will have a generic plan like GI Bill where you get for accredited schools. And there are career schools that, are you familiar with how accreditation works in the United States?
I can imagine that.
Okay.
Prescription, you got to live up to it, and then you get accredited.
So basically, the way it all works is, and this is part of the why education costs are out of control. So you have the Department of Education. Department of Education basically acts nationally to certify different accrediting bodies, and they are the ones that go through and inspect the colleges and career schools to say you're now accredited. Okay. So Harvard gets accredited, University of Texas gets accredited, Bill D'Alessandro's beauty school, and this RV school, they all get accredited. Now there's 5 or 6 different accrediting bodies that do this accreditation, but they all kind of get this level of accreditation. And what that does is it opens up you to different types of funding. And so there are, say, just straight up student loans, which go to accredited universities, or you can also get into typically what's used most by the VA is what's called GI Bill. And GI Bill is this, you're a veteran, we give you the benefit and we pay for your education at accredited universities and schools.
So functionally, any accredited university, trade school, whatever, is now eligible for GI Bill.
Correct.
So
yeah, and GI is so expanded now that you can end up like you give it to your kids and stuff. So there's people that go all kinds. One of the dangers, however, is the VA will go and start to create specialty programs about specialty things, like specialty areas of stuff. So they did it around coding. Another one, computer programming for a while. Another one where they did it was around helicopter pilots. So there was at one point, there was this whole VA thing where the helicopter pilots were getting basically every helicopter school was booming like crazy because there was this all you can eat buffet of helicopter benefits. So every vet was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a helicopter pilot.
Helicopter money, right? But that's bad though, right? Because I imagine that would introduce another accreditation to specifically qualify for that program, or is that good because now there's earmarked funds?
It's good and bad. It depends on how they structure it. And this is where kind of the VA, which, can set whatever terms they want. If they're 80% of your business, you got to take it. So the VA, for example, could set it up to where you only get paid if people graduate this RV tech program and they get a job. And if you do that, then maybe you have to take all the risks this person doesn't get employed. They did this exactly with all the coding schools, and suddenly all the coding schools, if you look, almost all the coding schools have gone out of business over the past couple of years. And the reason is they created this program that basically did what I was saying, called Vet Tech, which is basically congratulations, you're taking all the risk that these people get jobs and we're not going to pay you till they do. So suddenly you had unlike a normal school, which pays tuition ahead of time, the coding schools didn't get paid until a year after they gave somebody education. So they couldn't actually start new programs without losing money. And nobody would sign up for the programs unless they could use their vet tech free money.
Gotcha.
So it's just complicated thing. So that's what I'm saying. The VA is a huge point of risk for this business.
Don't create a RV technician special program, right? You just want them to stay out of it. You want generic GI.
Absolutely not. Correct.
Okay.
But it's a risk.
The risk here is that they pay attention to you and then they try to support your industry. The risk is that the government tries to help, essentially.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan. I'm here from the government and I'm here to help.
Okay. Interesting. So that is certainly an area of diligence then, is
correct.
Who is the payer. And also even what is the level of interest in RV technician training in Washington? And you hope the answer is 0.
Hopefully it's 0.
Hey everyone, it's Bill, and I want to tell you about maybe the most exciting sponsor we've had in a long time on the pod. It's called Capital Pad, and it is the thing that I wish existed when I started my journey of operating and investing in small businesses. So Capital Pad is a marketplace for acquisition entrepreneurs, that is, people who want to buy a business and need capital to list their deals and solicit capital from other people who want to invest in acquisition deals. So if you want to back somebody buying a small business, Capital Pad is the place to do it. And if you want to buy a business and need capital, you can go on Capital Pad to be introduced to investors. So the really great thing too from the investor side is that Capital Pad takes care of all of the details that can get hairy with small business acquisitions. They handle standardized terms, standardized governance, standardized distributions, all upfront in black and white. Basically, Capital Pad professionalizes investing in small businesses. And the returns can be really, really good. I'm so stoked they exist. It's founded by my friend Travis, who is a phenomenal entrepreneur in his own right. So if this sounds like something that is appealing to you, if you want to buy a small business and need capital, or if you want to invest in small businesses, go check out capitalpad.com and tell them that Acquisitions Anonymous sent you.
So there's actually a lot of the acquirers for people who buy up these types of schools. They actually don't want accredited things and they don't want VA centric stuff.
Because that increases the risk that they can try to help, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an interesting point of diligence here. Putting that aside, though, like you diligenced that, but maybe it's VA's 20% of it and it's mostly private pay and it sounds good.
Yeah.
Is this a really good business? I mean, because it seems to me, you know more about this space, Michael. It seems like the margins are fantastic, right? I mean, they've got 30% net margins. They're making $3 million a year. They have no inventory. It's training. It's got a moat. It feels like there's a reputational moat also. You know, the more students you put through this, you know, it's the marquee one in Texas or in their areas. It seems like they're trying to expand to Florida and Arizona so you can actually grow this business. It seems like they're in with the VA. They're moving up to Fort Hood. Is this amazing or what? Like, am I missing something?
This all comes down to the name of the game is filling classes. If you know how to fill classes, you're golden, right? So, you know, the economics with schools are like airplanes, right? If the airplane is 80% full, it loses money. If the airplane's 90% full, it makes some money when it takes off. If it's 100% full and everybody paid full price, you're making a ton of money. So your marginal benefit of filling classes is enormous. And so the big question is, with high fixed costs, can you fill classes? So besides the payee concentration, I would want to know, how are you filling classes? How are you getting people in the door such that every time you start a class and start a program, it's 100% full or something there that is profitable? That's the whole secret to this game.
Okay. And you know what I bet they're going to say? And I bet this is going to come back to just the double-edged sword. They're going to say, we have an incredible pipeline from the military and it's all GI Bill. And you're going to go, well, great. You can fill. It's great. You're 100% full until you're 0% full if they change the funding.
Yeah. And to your point, this doesn't mean it's not a great business. It just means that it's not, you know, it's tough to pay. Well, now we're back to the property thing. Pay $15, $15 million plus $6 million for the land. You're at $21 million now that you have to have invested in this business or be paying more in rent. One of the two, which we're not sure they're paying rent on the $6 million property value at this point.
So if you pay $21 million for this, you're at 7.5 times.
Yeah. Like
now you do own some hard assets and there's real estate there, but you need that real estate to run the business. So you've either got to look at it that way, that you're paying 7.5 times, or maybe instead of $2.8 million of EBITDA, it's 2.1 because you need to lease the space. You need to lease the real estate in perpetuity.
And look, I think that could be part of the calculus here. If a structure where, okay, I'm going to rent the land, you know, I'm going to pay $50,000 a month for the land. That may be high. That's $600,000 a year, but it gives them a 10 cap on the thing. And then you're able to come up with some sort of structure where they understand the risk of this whole GI Bill and accreditation stuff, and they take some of the risk, assuming there's that payee concentration. Like, it's a good business to be in. It's just a tough one to bet your life on and do a big personally guaranteed note that the thing's going to keep going forever based on how fragile this payee risk is.
And you talked about like the dynamics of a fixed cost industry. So you have the fixed cost of the real estate and, you know, and the structures and everything. And then on top of it, you're laying on the fixed cost of debt service, right? If you're going to use leverage to help you buy this business. So now you are really, this is what leverage does. It makes you hypersensitive. It goes really great when things go great, or it goes really bad, really fast. You are now hypersensitive to your ability to fill the classes. And if they had a break even at 85% full before, your break even is probably now 93% full or whatever, because you've layered on the debt on top of this business. So I would really try to understand that metric right there. Where's my break-even occupancy and where does it go when I have the fixed cost of debt on this thing? Could be a great business. But I do think, to your point, Michael, you got to structure some sort of risk sharing specifically around the GI funding, the VA funding. And you got to go, look, if, it doesn't have to be like an earn out if the business grows 4x. This is, for a while, the Amazon aggregators were using this new branding on an earn out, which they called a stability payment. So all the deal in like 2020, 2021, 2022, all of the Amazon aggregator deals had a stability payment, which is just an earn out. But it's an earn out basically fixed at the business doesn't decline.
Yeah.
So you may need some sort of structure like this where the business doesn't decline or doesn't decline more than 5%, or, there is, or is triggered entirely forgivable on the whole seller note if there is a change in the VA funding legislate. Like you'd have to structure something like that where they share the risk with you.
This definitely smells like something that a searcher would run and do a combination of earn out, seller note, and a bit of bank debt and a small amount of equity. And I think a deal could be put together here. Obviously I would, in their shoes, I would love to also be seller finance the real estate. I'd rather my $600,000 a year be going to real estate payments rather than rent. But that would be kind of a minor issue to negotiate. But because I'd love to own the real estate the next time this business trades 10 years from now or 20 years from now.
That's a good point.
But yeah, let's say you could get bank debt on this, assuming it's been pretty steady, you could borrow 1.5 to 2 times income. So let's say that's $5 million there. You get the seller to do an earnout of say $3 million and then carry a note for the rest of it. I'm seeing deals done like that. I got pitched one the other day. Guy's buying a business for $10 million with basically he's borrowing 3 turns of EBITDA. The rest is seller note, and he's putting in $500,000.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, okay, what of this are you personally guaranteeing? And he's like, all of it. I'm like, okay. Well, at least you're not trying to be kind of pregnant.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think I like this. The other thing you got to underwrite here is, they've talked about there's a lot of expansion, which I really like because a lot of times you see a quasi-local business like this and you go, how much bigger can it get before I go, without going to new markets? And they have pre-identified satellite schools in Florida and Arizona and a program with Fort Hood, which are probably great ideas. But you as the buyer, especially putting a bunch of debt on the business already, you've got to understand that there is going to be CapEx to build those schools, right? Like we've already talked about that the real estate in the current location is quasi-unique. And even if you could lease it, there's some CapEx to kind of get it, to customize it to the point. So I would be really cognizant of how much of my growth plan depended on opening those locations. And that I also modeled, similar CapEx that is needed to justify that revenue growth to stand up those 2 locations. Yeah. Because the business is not going to probably have a ton of excess leverage capacity, at least for several years, if you're going to use a loan to buy it.
Yeah. Well, and historically for career schools, people don't move. It's not like college. People don't relocate to go to career schools. They want to do the career school where the jobs are. So, something like this, it worries me. Like it's not like you can say, hey, like you're going to come move from Florida to Texas to do this particular job. It's difficult to get them to do that. Again, most of these people are doing a career school because they want to earn more money. They don't have any money. That's the problem.
Yep. All right. So thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm thumbs up. I feel like this is one of the ones where I could ask some very intelligent questions. It's up there with Pizza Boat and Worm Farm in terms of me being able to ask intelligent questions about this. This is a business that it would be good to own if there's good answers to those questions I put forward.
And it's in your backyard. This is you. Heather's got to buy the equestrian school and you've got to buy the RV school.
I'd rather own the equestrian school. I don't want to go to Fort Hood. Nobody wants to go to Fort Hood. We fly over that to Dallas. We don't drive through there.
All right. I am also thumbs up. I think this seems pretty cool, especially for the right buyer who's willing to be local in Texas. All right. If you like this episode, there are 400 more of them on our website at acquanon.com. Go listen to them, get on our email list. We will email you them. They're also all tagged by industry. So if you like schools, like the episode we just did, there are several others on vocational schools on the website. So go check out the website, subscribe to our newsletter, and we will see you on the next episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.